Ooh, we got some monk. All right, so let me tell you something. I'm an old monk. Okay, like I remember when you had grease lightning. There were 4 lightning charge things. Your attack was fast. You can stands, all that. I remember all of that. I'll never forget it. Monk, Monk has dramatically changed over the course of time, and I here's my thing. If respectively, if they keep this version of Monk as it is and change up how the job works, that maybe like with the timing, right? Because they plan to like change the way how the buff is like with the 2-minute thing. They're like slowly decompiling that, fingers crossed. Everyone's hoping that they stop doing 2-minute meta, which I'm also hopeful for. But what I will say is this version of Monk I'm actually in love with. Besides one attack, there's only one attack that Monk has that I don't like, but it's a visual thing, not like a functionality thing. Functionality wise, it's awesome, but visually I don't like that move. But that's a whole different conversation right now. So Monk right now is probably my second favorite melee next to Dragoon currently in Dawntrail. This job is so sick because the fact that one of the coolest changes they added was the whole like brotherhood thing. Getting 10 chakras was such a super cool change, because now I love slinging forbidden chakra. Actually, so sick. Monk is fun to play, man. If you haven't had a chance to play some Monk is so much fun. But also, I think that them adding that change for Monk 2 kind of not necessarily like broke the job, but the job is super strong because of that brotherhood change. And I'm sure amongst like other stuff too. But Monk is super insane strong. I love this job so much. I've been playing me some Monk. I've been really enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. But that's the problem though, right? Because I feel like if you're somebody who had time to play Monk back in the day and you used to know what it was like, you would understand that this job at one point in time had 6 positionals. Every GCD that it had was a positional. Like all the ones that are on my right side, all these three were positionals, and then all of the 3 that are here were all like, or sorry, those are flanks, and these were rear positionals. So, every single time you had to like play Monk, you would do your positionals exactly as so, And I know that we had a little bit of like a moment where that was no longer like a thing. However, I'm gonna put my foot down and tell you that I actually hope that they find it in their hearts to bring that back, because the 6-to-2 positional thing is very much like not my favorite change. I would absolutely put that back. I know that the thing about positionals that's rough is that positionals, granted, like, yeah, sure, there's like big hitboxes sometimes, and like you can't always get the guarantee on hitboxes. That's kind of okay actually, as long as they have a way to compensate for it, and which they have for True North, right? Like True North lets you do that, but I would also say that if there was another way to do that, but like you have to be using it when you're unable to get the positional because of a thing with like a fight or something like that, right? Then I would absolutely change that and make it possible, because like there's some fights where it's weird when the boss has a big hitbox and a positional, but like you're a melee and you have to be like north or something and you can't get the positional. Like that feeling is also very weird. I will happily admit that. The easiest example I can think of this with is Eden 9 versus Cloud of Darkness, the Dissidia version, because that tile mechanic, the boss is facing north and monks have to face like west or east, so you can never, no matter what you try and do, you can never get the rear attack, and that doesn't feel good. I'll say that much for sure. Like when you were playing a monk, I mean, every job had that problem, but Monk had it worse because there were 3 positionals that they couldn't benefit from, and their strongest one is a rear attack. So it was very weird to play Monk back then. It's only in that fight though. Otherwise, everywhere else it was perfectly fine, you know. So, and back then too, like you had True North and you had to charge for it to do the you know, positional thing, whatever. But also Riddle Earth had charges back then too, and it also did the exact same thing as True North. So you never had the problem of like not using positionals. But even then in that fight, you still ran out of like resources to do positional stuff. It was actually kind of complicated, but I liked it though, you know. So I think with Monk in mind, changing everything back to a positional is what I would want the most. And I think that a lot of players who played Monk back then, and don't tell me, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but you know, you still do positionals with Monk as if you have 6 versus 2. Usually, like I will still do Dragon Kick and Twin Snakes as a flank, and I'll still do Rising Raptor, and what was Bootshine is now Leaping Oppo as a rear. Like I still do. The only ones that are actual positionals is Demolish and Pouncing Clear. Right? So like the fact that there's only 2, again, is cool, but I remember when there were 6, so I would prefer the 6. Otherwise, the job is still insanely fun. I love the perfect balance idea. That is a really, really, really cool thing. You know, the fact that you can like activate these buttons and then like store them is cool. And if you want to get real super fancy technical, you can like AoE these if you're like, targeting the bosses, and also like, you know what I mean, you can actually activate it again, which is really cool for like downtime stuff, which genuinely was kind of like shocked by. So like Monk has capabilities of excelling incredibly well, and I'm really happy that it has that functionality across everything. You know, it's a really, really incredible job, despite it getting reworked as many times as it has, you know. Now for me, would I like for them to bring back stances? Absolutely, because I think stances actually create a sense of like functionality, and it actually would work as well in the current format of the game. Genuinely, like the power stance makes sense. You know, stance switching between like speed and power would be cool. I kind of like that a lot as well. And then I think that the defensive stance is helpful, especially during like downtime, or like if you're in a dungeon and like your teammates are like, you know, struggling like a little bit and you might have to figure out how to like defend yourself. You can like, you know, you can use Fist of Earth and then boom, defense stance, right? So that's me though. Like I said, I would like that. Also, I feel like Monk, granted, it's always like the hardest hitting, one of the hardest hitting jobs, right? Because it's like a monk. It's having the utility that it has, for me, makes it feel like it shouldn't like be number 1 DPS. I'm okay with it being number 1. I'm not saying that I don't want it to be, but you know, I think that there's like this whole like taxing system in the game where if you have certain pieces of utility or certain like for like functionalities, like you should do more damage as a result. But I feel like with how Riddle, Earth, and Mantra work, it should do less, you know, like compared to like Dragoon and Reaper, right? Because like you can do this move and then you can actually put up a big heal, and then you can give everyone like a recovery thing. Like all of that's really cool, and I like that, trust me, like I do. It's a bonus attack, but the impact of those attacks are optional, you know. The fact that they're optional is, I don't know, I feel like it should be required if you're playing Monk. Like if you're a Monk player and you don't press those buttons, it's not the end of the world. But if you're a Monk player, the value of those buttons should be like super, super high, you know. So I mean, that's what I think personally. I don't know if it was like that back then, because I use those mantra like all the time, especially when I knew that there was AoEs coming out, you know. And it does help a lot too, but I don't want it to make it seem like the fight can be trivial because you have that button. So I don't know. As far as everything else goes, though, like I said, I think the job is incredible. I don't think that there's really a lot to go change, because they only changed like 3 GCDs, right? Pouncing, or no, Leaping Oppo is the one that I don't like that move aesthetically. There's something about that move that I just don't like. That move, looking at that move all the time, it's just like I get it though, like Twisting Dragon, Crouching Tiger kind of ordeal, like yo, it's fire that they change the moves and do like stance stuff, because Rising Raptor, I love that move. That uppercut attack is so sick. But this thing, it took me a minute to, like, I prefer Bootshine, you know. That's it. So that's me being picky, but that's it. So, but the job changes for this is also really cool because, you know, we got Shadow of the Destroyer, which was a upgrade thing for Endwalker, and then 4-Point Fury and Rockbreaker have capabilities as well to be able to get upgraded as well going into the future, which is really cool. And then same thing, of course, with like Twin Snakes as well as Demolish. I will be very shocked if we don't get upgrades for those attacks and Forbidden Chakra going into the future. As much as I love Forbidden Chakra, I do think that this move getting an upgrade would be cool, even though it's very satisfying. Like, I mean, I'm cool with that too, actually. So, dungeons, it's incredible. Trials, it's great. Raids, it's really good. I like that there's uptime stuff with the thunderclapping. That's really, really, really awesome. And then I think, you know, like I said, it smacks in ultimates right now. It's such a good job. It's a lot of fun. I overwhelming to some people for sure. Like, if you don't like the overwhelming power of Monk because of how fast the job is and how much is going on, like, I totally understand it. But even if you don't understand it, I would still say give it a try. This job is so much fun, genuinely. And you don't have to even be like a super good monk. You gotta just play with some monk. Yo, monk is fun. Fun is monk. There you go.